Hi, I'm Benjamin Bernstein. Welcome to another edition of Awaken, Heal, and Thrive. This one is called the Autopilot Shaman. That's me. So today I want to talk about my history with shamanism and how I've done a lot of technical trainings and such, and how ultimately I've evolved into a form of shamanism that's just really autopilot, where Benjamin chills out and spirit does it for me. And maybe this will give you some inspiration for how you can do your own shamanic or spiritual healing or service work and energetic stuff. This episode is sponsored by my book, the #1 Amazon bestseller called Instant Divine Assistance, Your Complete Guide to Fast and Easy Spiritual Awakening, Healing, and More. Just go to Amazon and search for Instant Divine Assistance or click the link in the show notes. I publish both audio and video versions of Awaken, Heal, and Thrive, so take your pick. The video versions are on my YouTube channel, which is called Benjamin Bernstein Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to Awaken, Heal, and Thrive wherever you get it. If you haven't already, be sure to click the link in the show notes for a chance to win 1 full year of my Awakening Plus membership. That's a $189 value, and I announce a new winner every month. First, a little background. I've done energy healing of one kind or another for over 40 years. I did a lot of spiritual stuff starting when I was 17. I'm now 63. Around 20 years ago, I started getting into what's called core shamanism, as taught by Sandra Ingerman. Then I discovered the Pachacuti Mesa tradition, which is a more formal shamanic practice, which is drawn from Peru. Then I learned variations on shamanic traditions for a while and continued to pick up things here and there. So I've been practicing as a shamanic healer formally for well over 10 years. So have quite a bit of client experience to draw from as I share this. In my earliest sessions, I was very formal. I would do what is now known as my shamanic awakening ceremony. I would formally call energy in. I would go through specific songs and chants and would count on the ritual I was doing, the formal stuff to take care of the problems, and was much more structured and ego-driven. Over the years, as my awakening has deepened, thank God, I've gotten more into flow state, and now it couldn't look more different. I get with the client. We do still set up the shamanic container. That's super important. I call the 5 directions of my mesa, the 4 directions in the center. I spend several minutes calling in dozens of allies of high vibration and benevolent intent from many different paths and traditions that I've encountered over the years, and make sure we have a nice, good, sealed container to work with. After that, though, I just see what happens. And that's why I'm calling this episode Autopilot Shamanism, because at that point, I don't have a particular plan. The way at least I do it, which is grown into kind of its own unique expression, as many shamanic healers get into, they kind of find their own unique little niche. I have 3 ways I can work. I can rattle and drum and sing and do the things people traditionally associate with shamanism, and I'll do that if it's called. Most often, I will use my invocations for awakening and healing and calling in whatever particular energy is needed. And what I love most of all is to teach a client to fish for themselves instead of having to have them keep coming back to me, so that they can call in their own healing, call in their own awakening. It all comes from the same source as I or anyone else get it. And if I can teach them how to continue their process on their own, then that delights me the most, because I'm a teacher at heart. And then a third way is internal family systems therapy, which is a modality I picked up a few years ago, which is wonderful. It's psychology, but in my opinion, it's really shamanic soul retrieval dressed up as psychology. It acknowledges we have wounded parts that are kind of cut off from our main body. They've been wounded and traumatized, usually in this lifetime, but sometimes from past lives. And we'll go to the part. We go through this process of unburdening it, relieving it of the heaviness it's been carrying. It brightens up and gets all bright and shiny. Then we reclaim it and reintegrate it into the inner family. I'm shortcutting past a lot of details here, but the basic idea is this is a wonderful modality. If there's a particular part that's really calling out for attention, we can do this more formal internal family systems therapy process. So in a nutshell, if I'm working with someone, it'll either be straight up shamanizing, drum, rattle, sing. It might be invocations where I empathically am tuning into the client and feeling what they're doing. And I can tell quite keenly now exactly how their inner process is going, because it mirrors in my own body. I actually feel in me what's happening in them. I am blended sufficiently to tell what's going on. And if they can do it for themselves, then I just watch and instruct, and then they've got the ability to do that for themselves moving forward. They're having just as potent an experience as if I'd done it for them. If I need to get proactive because they're stuck or can't quite get it, then I will, again, be called to be proactive. And then, of course, there's the IFS, which I can guide them through. So that's what my shamanism looks like these days. And I truly go in with no game plan, except I know we're going to set up the container and then I'm going to follow my inner guidance. So all this to say, if you're doing some kind of formal healing path, there's a whole spectrum. On one end, there is learning a specific codified system with all of its rules and procedures and outlines and guidelines. And that can be really effective. And that's a lot more what I was doing in my early years. As I've awakened more deeply, as my inner guidance is flowing so much better now than it used to, of course, hopefully not a fraction as well as it will in the future, because there's so much room for growth always. There's less need for external structure, just as on a spiritual path in general. When you're kind of lost and groping, it's really helpful to have structured systems and guidelines and people with rules and things to follow and authority figures. And at a certain level in your journey, that's so helpful to have people to show you what to do when you really have no clue. But as you start connecting into your own guidance and your own inner wisdom kicks online and gets stronger and stronger, you ultimately find I don't need a guide at all. At some point, you could become fully self-guided. Doesn't mean you still won't get help from your friends or nudges from the universe through other people and situations as you go, but more and more, it's a self-guided process. And that's what my autopilot shamanism has become, because I now am tuned in enough that I can just show up and set up the container and the right things tend to happen. So that's my simple little story for you this time. Again, encouragement to you to kind of contemplate, where are you at on your path? Are you still at the point where you're being guided by formal external structures? And if you need that, that's the perfect place to be. I guess I'm giving you this message because I clung too long to other people's paths and was at one point where I was doing yet another formal shamanic training program, and circumstances forced me to leave that program halfway through, because ultimately I realized it was because I was supposed to be doing my own thing. And of course, my Awakening Plus membership is the core of that now. And I was still following other people's paths, a beautiful path, a legitimate and helpful path, but not the one I was supposed to be doing or disseminating. So while I can acknowledge how awesome a path that was, I'm now just so delighted to be doing the thing I'm here to do. So where are you? Are you still where you need the formal guidance and structure? Or are you on the other spectrum where you're just so self-guided that you're just totally autopiloted yourself and knowing where to go? Are you somewhere in between? There's all sorts of gray zones between the two extremes. So it might be worth contemplating where you're at. Are you, like I did, sticking a little too closely to a pre-established path? And is it time for you to either release that path fully or maybe downplay it a bit? Can you be like Adyashanti, the beautiful non-dual teacher who did hardcore Zen Buddhism for 18 years and then just once he awakened, goes, I don't need that anymore, and walked away and just did his own kind of teaching. There's many stories like Krishnamurti, a wonderful example of a guy who came up through a formal path and then awakened and just walked away from the path completely, did his own thing. Conversely, to be fair, you can go too far. You can kind of get ahead of yourself and go too independent and realize I don't have my moorings. I need to back off and get a little more formal structure for someone else sometimes. Sometimes there's an ebb and flow both ways. So you never know how it's going to go, but feel where you're at and see, are you perfectly situated now, or is there an adjustment that might be made? So those are just thoughts you might contemplate. Earlier, I mentioned my #1 best-selling book, Instant Divine Assistance, Your Complete Guide to Fast and Easy Spiritual Awakening, Healing, and More. As I record this in early March 2023, I'm thrilled. Lately, it's been running #1 in 2 different Amazon categories, with a third category usually at number 10 or 12. That's so cool, 5 months after it was published. In this book, you can learn how to experience spiritual awakening within seconds just by requesting it from your higher self. You can quickly and permanently heal a serious challenge, even one that might have caused you years of physical, emotional, or mental suffering, just by calling it in from your higher self. You can call in any kind of energy you want with my custom invocation anytime you want it. You can heal and bless others by doing what's called a hollow reed invocation. There's other cool stuff in here too. If you want to check it out, the ebook right now is $3.99, and it's included with Kindle Unlimited, and you can get the paperback for $12.99. Earlier, I also mentioned my Awakening Plus online membership. We now have hundreds of members in there who are getting wonderful support for their spiritual awakening, for their personal healing, for global service to the great spiritual awakening. If it's your cup of tea, it can be a really powerful and extremely cost-effective way to be supported. You can try it for $1 for 30 days. Then if you want to go monthly, the standard fee is $19 a month, but you can ask for a $9 a month scholarship rate if even 19 is too much. So again, an amazing support system if it runs to your needs and liking. There's over 500 archived events, 3 major courses with more coming. I'm always building it out and developing it. So really excited to be shepherding that forward as a method of service to others. And about time to wrap it up here. Thanks for being here. Once again, I'm Benjamin Bernstein. Please leave me a 5-star rating, review, or comment wherever you're getting this so others who also want to awaken, heal, and thrive can find it. And be sure to click that link in the show notes to get a chance to win a full 1-year membership to Awakening Plus. Again, that $189 value, potentially yours for free. We give one away every month. Thanks again for spending this time with me. I wish you infinite blessings.